What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking in Bits, where we walk you through Bitcoin bit by bit so we can provide you with the information you need to succeed and persist. Back with episode 30. I got Ben in the house as usual.
Episode 30, bro.
What's up, brother? 30's big.
Making moves.
We getting up there. What's the football? 3 touchdowns. I'm bad at math, man.
That's 21.
21? What do we need? 3 field goals.
That's 4 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion.
Let's go, man. We're moving across the field. This was happening up and down the field all day. How's it going, man?
It's good, man. I was talking with a friend.
Yep.
I know he's in my Facebook group. He's obviously a Bitcoin. He's not. He holds Bitcoin. He's not a Bitcoiner. He's not a maxi.
Okay.
But he understands the importance. Yeah. He understands the importance of cold storage. And he knows how to sign transactions, and so it's cool to just like have that conversation and hear him talk like that. I'm like, all right, that's dope, man. Yeah,
no, we're going to talk about privacy later, and hopefully your friend or anybody can get love out of this episode. If you don't know by now, guys, you got to get your own keys. You got to own this stuff. There's different ways to do it. We're going to talk about MultiSig later. We're going to talk about a little Coinjoin later. Some things there, even
little Marty Bird.
little Marty Bird. Check me out on Twitter, Marty Bird. I won't give context, but you could probably piece that together yourself if you're a connoisseur enough. But we're going to talk about some stuff a little bit later to help. This is even a little bit out of the scope of our knowledge of our stuff. This is stuff that we're talking about that we're learning as usual, guys. Yep. This is like a magical experience for you guys to be able to learn with us on the fly. And like Hope said, we did it, so hopefully you won't have to go through that.
Yeah, man.
So that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about that stuff. I'm going to put Ben on Front Street right here off the bat, man.
Let's go.
What's up with your boy Saylor, man?
Listen, Saylor is a corporate guy. So his moves are in the best interest of the corporate people.
Would you agree that he slid in there by owning up to the plebs, though?
I think...
I mean, he could buy regardless.
He's obviously no pleb, right? This is a dude who's buying millions of dollars of Apple stock years ago. He's a CEO of a company that's been around for a long time. So, like, he's no regular Joe. He's no regular pleb. But he just has mass adoption from a corporate perspective in mind and other stuff. But, every time people are critiquing him, it's they're for the pleb who doesn't want taxes, who doesn't want KYC, who wants privacy. And Saylor's like, yeah, let the taxes come. You know why? Because more corporate money is going to come in. And like we were talking about off air, when Saylor is saying it's good that things are going to be taxed, that it's going to be treated as, like real estate where it's taxed as an asset. Yeah. That just like legitimizes Bitcoin when he is pitching or, those conversations are happening and they're looping him in on billion-dollar buys. You know what I mean? Like, let's not forget he was talking to Elon Musk and Tesla eventually made a big buy. SpaceX eventually made a big buy. And companies like that. So it's one of those, again, to get to that next level of 100K, 200K Bitcoin, institutions and big companies have to come in. And so now taxes have to come in and the plebs get, taxed on their profits. My thing is, we were going to talk about legislation. I don't know. So right now, if you sell Bitcoin, you're supposed to be taxed with capital gains, right? So it's a one-time tax at the point of sale, like real estate. With new legislation, are they going to try and tax people for holding Bitcoin?
I don't know. I don't
mean?
I don't know much about the infrastructure.
I haven't seen any of it, but I could imagine that. I can imagine talks of it.
I would just say, and about Saylor is that, but isn't those are the same things that incentivize the fiat system to be taxes and these things? Isn't that whole stealing time concept? Over and over again. So now, ironically, the person who talks about all the intrinsic values of Bitcoin is now highlighting flaws that could be brought upon Bitcoin if these things to be taxed. To individuals that, as we talked about in the last episode, don't need pampering. Yeah. I mean, these are the bigger elites in the world, as you said. They're living a pretty good life. So are their generations to come going to live a really good life. So what are we incentivizing them to do? To understand what you and I have put in hard work to understand? Yeah. I think it's bad for Saylor. I think it incentivizes his pocket at the end of the day, which, sure, everybody has incentive. That's maybe his incentive. But if I recall, there was a streak there where he was all about the pleb. Yeah. Like there was that, like he was on Pleb Podcast, like he was just doing this run there where, I stand by you, Giga Chad. Right? Mm-hmm. That whole thing started happening, talking about Hornets. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that Michael Saylor has done nothing. I don't want that to be the argument here. I think Michael Saylor has done a lot and will continue to do a lot.
And here's the thing about Bitcoin.
It's just
like,
bad.
even if he fades into the, dust and turns an Elon Musk way, like, even if he does, like, I love that Bitcoin is bigger than any one person, bigger than any one influencer, and it doesn't need, you know what I mean, these people.
But it could be influenced in the sense that if these big people come, they're not going to allow the people that still need the saving to be saved. Right. For example, if Michael Saylor brings all his Chad friends and they come in and scoop stuff up, then how can El Salvador really happen? Yeah. These guys have already gobbled it up. And then at that point, it won't get to a point where they decide what happens, because then, as we discussed, everybody would just leave.
Bounce. Yeah, there's no central governance.
Right. But it's still like, you're in the way. Yeah. You're in the way of something that is just eating through everything evil in this world, and you're slowing it down by inciting evil here and pampering people that don't need to be pampered. My opinion.
As it stands, you're taxed if you sell Bitcoin. You're supposed to report that, right? So we'll see how things shake out on that bill. Yeah. Sats for anyone in El Salvador, for anywhere, for America, sats are going to get more expensive. And so when Bitcoin goes to 100 grand, you're, $50 will get half as many sats. But I mean, it's still, we're in 2021, right? The last coins will be mined over 100 years from now, bro. And like, we're going to get closer to 1 sat equals 1 USD.
It's just bringing back those incentives of like taxes and those nasty things. Like,
well, how do we get around taxes outside of?
Well, listening to safety, right, is like you get this world, you get this Bitcoin standard where, as we know what the Bitcoin standard is, which is like there will be none of that taxation. There will be none of that stealing of time, because it will just be a mutual exchange of things. The only reason you asked that question, in my opinion, I'm not the best guy to talk about finances or any of that. How do you get around taxes is, well, you're only asking.
Sell peer-to-peer, right?
Yeah, well, you're only asking because they're so used to being involved in everything. How do we get away from taxes? By not involving them. Yeah.
Which is a KYC exchange.
A non-KYC exchange, or the things that we're about to talk about. It's really difficult to do now, but it's not impossible. But yeah, if you don't want to be taxed, then you need to remove them from the situation. I think it's wrong to say that they should come in and tax things just because we want to trade this thing. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that's where it's weird to me. Like, they've never been able to do anything properly. So when they say a tax, what I'm thinking in my head is they're going to cast a wide net, and they're going to tax anything that comes through that net. Absolutely. They're going to lose some stuff on the side, some loopholes and stuff like that, but they're going to get as much as they can just to get in. Yeah. How is Michael Saylor like exercising these things and promoting these things? How has that become a real reality? I mean, the good thing about this is it's only going to make the cypherpunks and the coders that much more aggressive, because now we want to get around this stuff. Mm-hmm. But once again, Giga Chad, to me, as somebody who can say Giga Chad, is more like, I understand the role of big dogs and whales, but you brought up earlier, he brought in the Elons, those places. The Teslas, we also saw the exit of the Teslas. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't good for anything. It just led for a waste of time, everybody fighting with Elon. A big price swing going from all-time highs to lows. Like, you're enticing these guys, these emotional human beings, because most of these people that have a lot of money are extremists, right? Because that's how they got a lot of money. You bring these emotional beings into a situation where the people in El Salvador, the people in Ethiopia don't have the luxury to play games. Yeah. Why are we playing with these billionaires? What are we talking about? If you don't get it, you don't deserve to get it. We get it because we deserve to get it. Yeah, Michael Saylor doesn't have to be a cheerleader and make you understand it. He's already done that. He has conferences. He has a bunch of stuff. What are we waiting for? So now he has to go on CNN and change the narrative from Bitcoin is everything and Bitcoin is, to now the language kind of changing. But this is good for Bitcoin. This is right for Bitcoin. And this is different. Wait a minute. That language is different. Yeah. What are you saying? You didn't sound like that 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Yeah. So something happened somewhere where he found a way to capitalize, maybe 5 years down the road, maybe 10 years down the road. But until proven otherwise, because things change fast, I gotta put a big question mark on Michael Saylor. It's a weird thing. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in the club. Yeah. If he makes this thing go to 10 million through his philanthropy and through his babying and coddling of other billionaires, well, I guess I go on the ride with it. Yeah. But I'm more worried about the example I gave before the show, people getting on the ship. I want people on here, man. Like, get on here, because this is the only opportunity to get away from taxes. Yep. To get away from big dog whales. Whales won't matter in the Bitcoin standard. Yep. They do now. Proof of stake. They own majority of decision making, so they could just wave their magic wand and say, "I want to do this," and because fiat is so highly glorified, they could do whatever the hell they want. And the Bitcoin standard, listening to Safety on Stephen Livera's podcast, that won't exist. That lifestyle won't exist. That's what I'm chasing for, and I think that's what Michael Saylor's missing. Yeah, I don't think he's missing it. I just think he's too far in now. I think he has to commit to whatever board he's part of now, and I get it. They have to come in. My argument is, to wrap this up, come in when you understand it. Don't come in because the other billionaire made it flashy for you to come in. Because there's people that depend on this. In the current fiat world, y'all big dogs don't depend on this. Yeah. Y'all good. Y'all wake up and do whatever the hell y'all want, do whatever. Let us get more of that. That's my point. Did you want to move on, or you got anything to say?
No, we can move on.
Cool. Yeah. Infrastructure bill, we're going to likely hit this one. I know nothing about the infrastructure bill besides that more FUD came out. People were nervous about taxes. Do you know anything?
Not particularly. What's going on right now is you have senators who are learning about Bitcoin, or they don't know about Bitcoin and they're saying really ignorant things. So you have like Senator Warren and all these others who are just saying foolish things. And what that's going to do is fuel bills to get lobbied and written, and then they're going to vote on these things. But the people like writing these things are like ill-informed, right? And that's why, not to go back to Saylor, but the whole mining council, they're trying to just get good data to be able to pass to people like that. You know what I mean? Senator Warren and people in corporate spots. I mean, the battle to make sure that bad legislation doesn't get passed is pretty big right now. And so there's one senator, I forget her name, but she's been on a lot of the, not Clubhouse, but the Twitter spaces. And I see her on Twitter. I think she's holding like a few Bitcoin.
Cynthia Lewis?
Probably. She has short hair.
Wyoming?
Yep. Yeah, I knew it was somewhere out there. So seeing her come along and learn and tweet and, say she'll openly tweet and say, hey, what's been your Bitcoin experience? And like, she's really trying to learn. Yeah. And we need more reps like that who are going to protect and kind of safeguard, bad legislation being written, passed, and then, harming us, taxing us. Yeah. Those kind of things. So
to fight back a little bit on the ESG thing, though, as you can see, it didn't take Cynthia Loomis to see good data.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because my thing is who defines what good data is? Yeah, the truth is on the blockchain. Go look for it. Yeah. So it's like when we make arbiters of who provides good data. Yeah. Whether it's Saylor, whether it's the council committee or whatever. You put a shade on stuff that's already transparent. The best data is there. Go look for it yourself. And as data analytics do, you kind of have to like convert that to however your methods of converting it to your argument, right? Like scientists do. So like that information is free. I don't think anybody needs to do that. And I do agree with you 1,000%. We need more senators to be educated and stuff. But my counter argument to that is if you're a smart senator, you don't need good data to get you to understand this. You just need to go and find the good information that you and I have found. Like there's people out there willingly giving this information, not only on a hiding behind my keyboard, publishing journals and articles standpoint, but public faces, podcasters, right? Like I constantly see Parker Lewis in Texas in City Hall doing certain things. Like those people are active. You see what I'm saying?
Good for him.
So it doesn't take, councils and good data. It just takes somebody willing to want to change and wanting to do something and back to save people and help people and not just be all about talk. Yeah. And when we throw these fiat words into Bitcoin, not to keep going back to that, it just put flaws on it, like taxes and stuff. Why? Like we're moving away from, this is the brand new, generation, right? This is the brand new opening that we're seeing, and we're going to muddy it up with fiat terms that don't work.
Speaking of taxes, I saw someone on Twitter, they had said that, I think they're filing their taxes, or they're basically adjusting their taxes to not have Bitcoin gains because they're claiming their Bitcoin as legal tender. Yes, sir. Cool. Since El Salvador has announced it as legal tender.
Rewind that. I'm sorry. I was focused on the
recording. So a dude on Twitter was like, hey, I'm adjusting my taxes to not have like capital gains taxes from Bitcoin because I think he had mentioned him and his attorney will claim that the Bitcoin that they're holding is legal tender and not, and so you got to wonder.
I wouldn't say that on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean that's his argument. As more countries adopt Bitcoin as legal tender,
more loopholes.
Like I think that just gives people more room to stand on to say this isn't an investment vehicle for me. This is legal tender. This is like USD to me. You know what I mean? So from a tax perspective.
Foreign.
So yeah, the IRS, they're going to be actively working to kind of adjust with this whole taxation thing. And obviously, like if we got to pay a tax, sure, I'll pay a tax. But if I don't want it to get crazy, you know what I mean? I don't want it to be like, hey, 40% tax on your profits. And it's like,
well, that's what.
Why am I giving you 40%?
Well, that's what happens when the billionaires get involved.
Yeah.
That's why when they advocate for taxes or even try to justify it, because we said this before the show too, which is important to highlight for anybody listening. You can't get much out of a 2-minute clip. Like I didn't see Saylor's point for the previous 15 minutes that he was probably on that conversation. That's important. But, once again, if you're advocating for these words and these things because of it being the right thing or it taking it to the next level or it being, you need to let these things unfold naturally if that's the case. Yeah. And I don't think it goes against his argument. But either way, man, I agree with you. I'm foreign when it comes to taxes and stuff like that. I would go to you. I would go to somebody else for that. I'm so illiterate to that whole side of things because hodling is just so easy to me. It just makes so much sense.
Yeah, there's no point. So.
Yeah, but kudos to that guy. I don't know if he should be putting that stuff on Twitter. That might be the worst idea. But a lot of people are doing that. So let's move into, I guess ways to secure it, ways to protect it that we've been hearing. This is no secret. The Odells of the world are really good about it. Yep. There's I probably butchering his Twitter name. Econo Bridge. I need to burn the bridge. My man is super about this non-KYC stuff. He has some of the best tutorials about home KYC mining. He's big on that. Cool. He's been on a few shows. He advocates. He has a good guides for certain wallets and how to do whirlpooling with Samurai. Really good individual. That's similar to Coinjoin. Okay. I don't know which came first. I just know Samurai Wallet does Whirlpool.
Gotcha.
Which I think is their implementation of Coinjoin. And Wasabi's, as far as I know, is Coinjoin.
Gotcha.
There's a few other apps that use those implementations. I'm still learning about all this stuff. It's pretty interesting stuff. But in a world where, like you said, I got to give you 40% of it, well, how about if you don't know if I got it? How about if you don't know where it came from? How about if you don't know any of this information? How can you now, besides brute force, justify, right? Taking 40% from me. You don't know where I got this from. You don't know, right? So I think this is going to be problematic whenever the time comes, if it hasn't come already, where that's going to be an argument of what I guess money laundering is in US dollars, where it's like
Marty Burden.
That's Marty Burden. That's going to be the name of this episode.
Yeah, Marty. Is that a verb? That's a verb.
Marty
right?
Burden?
Marty Burden.
Well, we just made it one if it's not. But yeah, it kind of just seems like that would be the argument. And, it's one of those things, man. Like, yeah, you could launder for drug purposes, but you could launder for different reasons. I saw a really awesome example of how this type of anonymous, basically laundering, let's use the word laundering, it seems the most relatable, is advantageous to a business, especially in let's just say a cryptocurrency future, right? Where exchanges happen, right? So think about this. If I'm Apple, right? And I have 2 distribution plants, right? And one of them is getting less money than the other one. In a Bitcoin world, well, the other company is just going to be able to trace back the address and say, damn, why are you giving them that much money? Apple now has the ability to Coinjoin their transactions. The other company now can't see what they're paying the other company. And it's advantageous. It keeps the status quo between companies because now you could do competitive business. Yeah. Now we could arbitrage on a number as opposed to saying, now I know because of the blockchain.
Yeah, I know you did X, Y, Z.
You pay them that much, we demand that much. And it brings chaos into business, which could make supply shortages happen. Sure. Can make that whole chain effect happen. Yeah. So I was like, Yeah. So once again, you can launder for dirty reasons as you can spend this and that in US dollars for dirty reasons. But there's also legit, and I believe ethical in that situation, right? Because if you're a business, most of your business is conducted by having an anonymous book, right? Like people can't know the inner workings of the price structure. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. So in the future where things are transparent, that only works because in your business, your customers can't look into your bank account. Right. But in the future, your customers
can be able to look into your bank account.
Yeah, because most likely you're going to give them a pay script, right? So you're going to give them one number, right? One address that probably continuously takes payments unless you spend and you change it, right?
And if that address is in a vault
Yeah.
That's my cold storage. They can basically access the amount that's in there.
I want to specify. Do you mean a vault like the Unchained product, or you mean like just analogy?
Just a cold storage. Cold storage.
Okay. Yeah, because So what was the question?
So right now, like I think what we were saying recently was send someone a hot wallet on like Wasabi or Blue Wallet or Trust Wallet, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Because if they have your actual cold storage wallet address, they can potentially see how much coin you have or how much coin has hit that address before.
Right, because when it's a certain type of script, the address doesn't change, right? Like, so like the famous example that I see a lot is, imagine you were doing like a charity and you just wanted one spot where everybody can contribute to that address.
Yep.
It's fine. It's hidden behind your keys. It's public information. It's perfectly fine. But now I could just look up that address and see how much Bitcoin is hidden behind the address or sent to that address at least.
Gotcha.
If you moved it, I may not be able to see that, but I think there's also ways that I can see that, right? Because I can just follow the trail in a sense. So this would make it in a sense where companies now, if I give all my manufacturing one hash code so I can handle billing through there or whatever, or receiving or whatever it may be, then now with a Coinjoin, they at least won't be able to look at the history of what's coming out of my thing, which keeps business competitive, which keeps that ecosystem working.
Gotcha.
That's a really good example on a higher level of why, being more anonymous with transactions, especially in a transparent world, is very important.
Yeah.
But I think the FUD that'll come will eventually be, well, this is how drug dealers do this, and this is how they could burn this and do that, and we can't catch them doing. Yeah, but that's the thing. They want us to think that this works the same way the fiat world works, and it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't function that way. It's transparent.
Yeah.
I can't see Swiss bank accounts. I can't see this information. I can't see who's getting paid. But if a politician is getting paid, and I hate to use the word, let's just say Bitcoin. I don't want to use cryptocurrency. But if a politician is getting paid in Bitcoin, we can see that if we know the address. And we can see how much that political campaign is actually bringing in. And that's all public information. But for certain reasons, you may be wanting to Coinjoin that information. And now people don't know that it's more private as a business, as an entity. And you can use that as you will. Good, bad, it's up to you. Coinjoin is really cool. Look into it, guys. I think Samurai does Whirlpool. Wasabi does Coinjoin. I think it's a similar thing, maybe slightly different.
Now, is Wasabi like a hot wallet?
Wasabi's, I've tried it on a desktop. I don't know if they have a phone wallet. But yeah, it's a desktop wallet. Coinjoin basically works. You have to have, and this is very basic level. I'm not a professional in this stuff. I want to learn to be one because of what we talked about here, taxes and things like that. But the way I think it works is you join a pool. There's about 100 other peers that are willing to Coinjoin with you. You kind of all put in one set amount. You can't just put in any transaction you want. It all goes into a spend, and you get a return that's basically, through all those channels, anonymous. I don't know the intricacies. That's just the basic way to do it. But I've heard about it for about 6 months now, and I've shied away from it. I don't think I've been, too excited about it. But as I go deeper down this whole multi-sig, it's the next thing we'll talk about. It's very important for private anonymous to just like it's very important to care about your data in this world, right? Like I have a little camera blocker sensor here thing. It's just data. It's these things that we want you to get access to them if we allow you to.
Absolutely.
And I don't think Coinjoin is bad. They'll make it seem like it's bad. I think it's intuitive. I think it's another example how the cypherpunks will always figure out a way around it. And it's cool. I don't know how that helps or hurts or combines with Taproot, though. I have no idea how that changes. But I'm interested in learning more.
I'm in my head, I'm thinking Taproot is just going to be layer 1 of that. And then layer 2 is Coinjoin. And if we need a layer 3, it's something that sits on top of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Sort of like having like a VPN block your browser to then have a Tor block your node. And it's like that layer of protection. And I think it's just better. And I think that just leads to more businesses, right? That more companies can support this. Yeah. More companies can educate on this stuff. And I think it's key. Sort of like a lot of companies, and we'll go right into our next topic, multi-sigging. Yeah. Right? A lot of companies are leveraging the power of multi-sig. And I think most people on this show, I've been advocates of self-cold storage. I still think that's way better than exchanges and anything of the liking. But there's a way to mitigate risk. There's a way to, put different fail points in place that doesn't just land on one device, one set of keys, one set. That was something I always wondered very early on, which is a few questions actually. But what happens if this goes? As all goes, how do I spread it out besides buying a bunch of hardware wallets? How do I trust other people, peers, spouses, with giving me access? sort of like Coinjoin, MultiSig seemed a little bit out of my league. It seemed like it was a lot. I didn't want to jump into it. I didn't want to learn it. Best piece of advice I give anybody out there, jump into MultiSig.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Learn it. Don't just jump in randomly unless it's just Bitcoin you're just playing around with. If you're code savvy, you can run it on testnet and play around with MultiSig. Caravan is a super tool to build multi-sig wallets on the fly. It lives on the browser. It's designed by Unchained Capital, but it's an open source page. It's stateless. That's important because it doesn't remember anything about your wallet. And it's a really cool feature to play around with if you want to create wallets, if you want to get into things like UTXO management. And multi-sig is key. For the listeners that don't know, maybe your friend earlier talked about cold storage. Multi-sig is a script that basically requires, 2 of 3 keys to be able to spend from that address.
Yep.
So typically when you're spending from your code card, you have one signature that's needed, and that's your code card address. Every time you send the transaction, and that's hot wallets, that's every type of wallet. It just happens on the background in most wallets. Your private keys to that wallet are signing the transaction that's saying, I approve this to go out. And a multi-sig, it makes it really cool, especially for security, because now you have 3 of these keys, right? And you have this like hierarchy of 2 of these 3s are necessary for this to happen. Now, the beautiful part about this is that's when you start to spread out risk. Because if your code card fails, you still have 2 of the keys, hopefully, out there that'll be able to recover your funds for you.
Yeah.
And that can happen to any of those parties. And it's not just hardware device, it's seed word specific.
Gotcha.
So if I spread out my hardware devices with my seed words, now I have turned, let's just say 3 into 6 different fail points that would stop me from getting access to my funds. This is also cool for future thinking, spouses, friends, family, right? So you can do, you could give companies the 3rd key, and that's really cool.
Let's pause real quick.
Yeah. What's up?
Thinking about your families, bro.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess there's a current death tax. The Biden administration is talking about administering another death tax. So a second one, right? So a guy was like, listen, my parents own a house in California or whatever. Let's say they sold it for $1 million, but their hospice bills are, $500,000 or $600,000. The double death tax then makes them have no money. You know what I mean? So taking your wealth, or the whole Britney Spears thing, right? Taking your wealth, putting it in Bitcoin, and then having multi-sig seed phrases set up. You have multiple attempts to get into the wallet,
right?
But it's a way where I can take that wealth if I have access.
There's a lot of different ways too. Like think about beneficiary standpoint. So you get 2 of 3 keys. You give one to your spouse. You hand over the other one to a lawyer. Yeah. Right? And then in the regular world where people would be like, that's a lot of trust though. You're going to give it to a random dude that you pay or whatever. Well, you're going to give him instructions. You're going to give him a hardware device, whatever you're going to give him. But he needs another one of the keys in order to do anything.
Exactly.
So he would need one thing to happen. Either you mess up and go with him and sign, or your spouse to do some dirty stuff behind your back and sign with him. That can happen. But does your spouse have to know about your will and testament? That's up to you. But that's not the only example. You can leave, like I said, there could be like third companies. Unchained Capital is one of them. A few other companies that basically hold the 3rd key, and that kind of offsets you in the stand that is like, I don't have to trust Unchained Capital because they can't do anything to my funds.
Yeah.
But they're a business. They'll be around for a very long time. They'll hold my 3rd key in case my wife loses hers, in case I lose mine, in case my sister loses, whatever one of those keys is compromised. You have a neutral third party that's sitting outside that's holding that 3rd key. None of them are private, by the way. Fun fact, multi-sig, I didn't know this before. Multi-sig wallets are constructed of public keys derived from your private keys. So the only information that you can see in a script for a multi-sig wallet are all 3 public keys. Or I've heard like Casa do like 5 of 7 keys and stuff like that. I think there's bigger types of scripts you can do. Yeah. 2 or 3 seems...
It's a good starting point. Yeah.
I don't know how I could maintain and handle 5 of 7 keys.
So what I was thinking about recently was for corporations.
Sure.
MicroStrategy. You're sitting on $2 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
How many keys do you have, and where are they? Even the twins who have Gemini. I
would force to figure out 2 of 3 though, because now you're leaving the exit smaller, right? You give 5 people 5 different humans, 5 biases, 5 different outcomes in life and situations?
I was thinking they just have them in lockboxes. Like I remember the Winklevoss twins had stuff like certain. What did they have?
And who you trust in there or the lockbox?
24 words in the seed phrase.
But you've seen those lockboxes have been pillaged.
Yeah.
You show up to the bank and they're like, nah, this new Biden administration, now we get to go through lockboxes. There goes your hardware wallet. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, facts. I think how they had set it up was each bank box had like 2 words or something, or a word. Yeah. So like even if if something came down and they were able to go through all lockboxes and then be able to see, hey, you have 24 sets of belongings at 24 locations and we're getting all that, and then they could take your stuff. Like that's crazy.
Well, that's my thing. They would have to know. That's another part of that fail-safe thing. Like, all right, let's do the good old $5 wrench attack. Somebody shows up at your crib. Yeah. They take your heart. They still have to know that that's all attached to a multi-sig.
Yeah.
So they have to go to like a caravan to recover this script, right? Like you can't just take the wallet and say, ha ha. It's like you still have to generate that wallet somewhere and then do the 2-sign transaction spend.
Right.
So like the layers upon layers. So okay, he takes it, he goes. If he knows I have a multi-sig, he'll generate the wallet. But then he would need to know the PIN of one card.
He needs to kidnap someone to get that second transaction. You know what I mean?
He would need the PIN of one hardware device, the PIN of the second hardware device. He would need the C phrases if he couldn't get into the devices. Yeah. He would need both of them. He would need to know how to do a script. He would need. You see how these layers of like intricacy come in, where as opposed to I bash you over the head with a $5 wrench. Yeah. You give me a C words, I take your card. It's over. Game's over. So I'm not here to tell anybody what to do with their coin. I will say look into multi-sig, because once you really understand multi-sig, it's a no-brainer. Yeah. It's like one of those like things that I don't know if it was Satoshi, or I don't know if it was the developers after him that implemented this with one of the BIPs or something like that. But the idea of multi-sig is brilliant. Yeah, it's like you're
mitigating risk. You're going from one shot to I have 3 chances
with cryptography, which is just like I said, I could give it to the lawyer and he don't know what the hell to do with that. Yeah. And I could leave him instructions with a will and testament that says, hey, at the event of my device, these seeds, this key, hand them to this person. And then you can leave another trail for that person so they can know what to do with those keys. Yeah. Beauty of it is if you find lifelong partners, business, that will help your spouse recover that stuff, that's an even bigger one, right? So you can multi-sig on your own. Caravan is out there. Other, Blue Wallet can do multi-sigs. A lot of things can generate multi-sig. But does your spouse know enough about Bitcoin as much as you do, and can they access that even if they were to have those devices? These are a lot of questions that are getting solved on the fly. There's a lot of companies booming on the fly, and it's for this one problem here, but. Yeah. The answer is you can get a lot of help.
I mean, Nipsey Hussle dies. Yep. He has no will, and they're in court over and over over his funds.
That's insane.
You know what I mean? Like having multi-sig set up where your wife is good, or if he would imagine he would have multi-sigged with his brother. Yeah. Like it would have been nothing because he would have had access.
It would have been nothing, right? So yeah, or like I said, the wife could just reach out and say, "Hey, my spouse passed away. Here's the proof. Here's the certificates, whatever you may need, and now I need you, third party, to
sign this transaction
for me. Right? Yeah. And not only that, but help me do it, because what if the company just says, we'll sign that. Here you go. The person still has to know how to function with this stuff. So the company to be able to do that, that's going to be, we were going to ask this question in general. What makes you trust a company or product in the Bitcoin space? I think that's it. I think it's Bitcoin native, 1,000%. It can't be no alternative, can't be no messing around. And I think it has to be lifetime partners, like somebody you trust for from a small standpoint and a big print standpoint. The one we just gave one is big, but even a small, if I buy a code card, I'm trusting you with my wealth forever. So chances of you buying a code card and jumping to a different cold storage device would be rare. Yeah. You're a CoinKite customer at that point. Yeah. Unless innovation happens and something new comes out. Right. But that's up to CoinKite now to compete and make a new MK4, I should say. Damn, we never talked about the MK4, did we?
No.
The specs going out there about an MK4. They just did an update where you can now get QR codes on your code card. Super dope.
Because then now you're on the fly with it.
Yeah, but the big thing is they I believe their specs leaking the NFC in the next code card, MK4. I'm curious to see how that. I've seen how it works out, but I want to know how secure it is. Yeah, I've seen a dude literally like put his phone on the mat and pay like a restaurant, a restaurant, because the NFC was connected and he was able to do it that way. It's what we're about to see. It's insane.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that goes to the whole like, hey, let's walk out of Amazon without checking out.
Sure, NFC me up. Yeah, my phone just as I walk by, scan it. But
zing.
It's incredible stuff going on. But MultiSig, guys, check it out. It's all about privacy. Look into VPNs. I'm not the guy to go to for any of that stuff, but it's important for your interaction, especially when it comes to this big, there's a lot of fights that are coming. So you want to be as anonymous as possible to not have any dirt that they can use on you, on us. And the cool thing is that the tools exist. The features exist. You just have to be willing to learn. I posted this about a completely different topic, which was the strike thing, but this is another example where those that are willing to adapt and understand newer technologies are reaping all the benefits before the masses come, not only in a wealth standpoint, but in an information standpoint. You know how much further off listeners to this show, viewers of this show are going to be than the average person right now? Extremely far ahead. They're going to know how to be anonymous, or at least the things to look for to be anonymous. Check out MultiSig, guys. It's all about privacy. I do have this NFT rec thing. You want to give us more about that?
Yeah, no, I was talking to one of my boy Pop, and he was saying that someone's wife clicked something on a laptop, and all of a sudden the husband's NFTs were liquidated and gone. And so,
how is that a button? Like, how can you get to that button?
So, what happens is someone will send an email over, and it'll say, "Hey, click this button for whatever reason." You click that button, and it just installs spyware into your computer on the back end, and then they have access. They can monitor your screen. They can, capture your keystrokes. They can get your passwords. Yeah. And there goes your, whatever you had on an exchange, be it coin or like an NFT or something. So yeah, man, the importance of take custody of your own stuff, get your stuff off exchanges, get your Bitcoin off exchanges. My wife had Bitcoin on Coinbase today, but she uninstalled the app. Then we couldn't remember the password. And then it was like, oh, what about Google Authenticator? Yeah. I'm just like, why is this Bitcoin even still on here? And so, send that to cold storage and keep that moving, man. Next step for me is MultiSig. So we'll set up a time to kind of run through that and make that move.
It's the right step. Yeah. It's just secure. It's fine. And it's badass, man. Yeah. Like, once again, check me out on Twitter, Marty Bird. It just makes you feel badass. And you should, because this is state-of-the-art technology. This is not, although Bitcoin is very simplistic in its nature, and a lot of high-end coders would be like, duh, that's logic. Mm-hmm. It's an idea whose time has come. Right? Yeah. It's the logic, but it's so good of the logic that it's complicated in a sense too. Yeah. And when you pull off this stuff, like the first time you get your MultiSig set up, it's empowering. The first time you get your hardware and you realize that this is, these words, man. Like, how would the human race ever get rid of words? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these words are the key. I don't need a physical malleable key. I don't need a locksmith. I don't need to create anything. I just have to remember a small script, just like I remember my favorite rap song, just like I remember my favorite. And if I can remember this one script for as long as my brain is sane, I'm going to be able to exchange value at light speed. I think that's not simple at all. Yeah. That's complicated to work. And for people to adapt, we've gotten to the point of no return. Yeah. This is, I don't know, people reach an orbit, whatever you want to call it, but this is, if you're not on by now, you're not late. I don't want to say that.
I was at a bar last night talking to a mathematician who he seemed unimpressed about Bitcoin. I was like, oh, what do you think about Bitcoin? Yeah. And he's like, oh, I don't want to speculate. And I was just kind of like, hey, do you trust the politicians or do you trust the mathematician coders to create an open monetary network that's built upon digital scarcity and, X, Y, Z, and you would figure I'm sure he has no clue, but as a mathematician, you have to be able to look at this network. Right. Once you, at least someone understand it and say, wow, this is a piece of art, as we talk about every week. So,
has to have the right inputs too. If he's a mathematician but has the wrong inputs to his formula, his answer will always be wrong. And it sounds like he's going to be wrong. Have fun staying poor for now. Yeah. Unless you figure it out. Yeah. But it's complicated. It's not easy, but this goes back to why are we pampering individuals to figure it out? Yeah. Nobody's doing that for well, that's not true. All the hours volunteered on Clubhouse, all the hours we volunteered, there is people pampering to plebs to make sure that we get it and all that. Yeah. But why are we pampering to the dudes that don't care per se? Yeah. Or pretend to care? Because if they did care, they would be addressing issues. Cynthia Loomis. There's a few other people out there that I can't name, but there's people that are taking action with their wealth and with their power. Why do I need Michael Saylor to explain to you with good data what the good thing to do is, what the right thing to do is? Very strange. A lot of, shout out to my boy Kabuki Theater, is his quote. A lot of Kabuki Theater there, man. I read Block Size Wars. I can't really pin this Saylor situation to a specific past. Maybe one of the longtime Bitcoiners could bring up a good correlation, but I will say this. He's going to lose if he's up to no good. They're going to figure his ass out quick.
I think he knows that.
But I think but at what point is it, I'm too powerful at this point?
Yeah. I don't know.
Like the braggadocious.
Yeah.
But I still think he'll fail. I still think he'll get brought down. And he knows this. Yeah. We'll just bounce.
Yeah.
We'll just bounce, good sir. But yeah, Michael Saylor, you know, he's done a lot. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I've just, you know, block size wars is another example. Like there's been a lot of big dogs that have come in,
do stuff and then bounce.
Have tried to, you know, change certain things and, you know, make new standards and and what we found out over time is sort of like what we find out about humans, the very raw stuff still exists. And with Bitcoin is like, it just keeps chugging along, let it naturally roll out and do what it needs to do. Anything that's trying to either speed it up or slow it down is just getting in the way. Yeah. I think Saylor is slowly shifting into getting in the way territory at the expense of maybe his, you know, business mask or whatever. Right. You know, that's cool, man. Yeah. We saw what he did. We saw what those billionaires could do. A lot of interesting stuff. Anything else? Let me see where we're at.
My Bidopoly order should be shipping soon.
Oh, sweet, man.
I think I got the new one.
What's the new one? New cards?
I think it's like a new set or it's like a version 2 or something. Yeah. So I don't know if it's going to be the same deck that you have.
We're going to have to
But yeah, that would be cool. So for anyone who doesn't know, Bidopoly is basically, you know, a Bitcoin card game. Bidopoly, similar to Monopoly, kind of rolls off the tongue, but it's a really fun game that just teaches you Bitcoin. The kids love it. And so, you know, it really teaches the kids like, hey, not your keys, not your cheese. You have to protect your Bitcoin with cold storage or proof of keys in the card game, because when something happens, it'll be like, hey, unless your Bitcoin is protected by proof of keys, you're actually losing your Bitcoin. So it teaches you the importance of cold storage, teaches you how miners work a little bit. And it's a pretty fun game. It's an easy play. And I'm, you know, happy that they did that. So
yeah, newbies and older people, more experienced people could appreciate it. The difficulty adjustment was just incredible.
Yeah, the difficulty adjustment, that is awesome.
That's the whole game right there. And one would argue that's all Bitcoin right there. Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, shout out to them. They put us something together. We're good. Looking forward to see what your cards look like.
Yeah, that's fun.
Clark Moody stuff here because we got about another 10 minutes here to keep it on pace. 39,695 is the price right now.
Not bad.
That's 2,519 sats per dollar.
Okay.
That's interesting there. Earlier today I checked and we were behind 8 blocks. We're up to just 1 block to clear. The next block is scheduled to have at the moment 383 transactions in it. That's 510 Bitcoin in that one.
Crazy.
And there's a lot of stuff moving around. They do have Samurai Whirlpool stats here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I don't know if this is all time, but unspent capacity is 3,764 Bitcoin.
Great. So your the transaction capacity for that is that much money?
Yeah, it says unspent value. That's valued at 149 million.
Gotcha.
Right now, unspent. That's a lot of really cool stats on this Clark Moody website. Guys, check it out.
Is Strike still doing 20 off moon cards?
Nah, I think that was temporary. They do these like
it's like a blitz promo.
Yeah, I think it's like they call it like a bat calling.
Yeah,
bro. Strikes out. Yeah,
bro. I maxed out my Strike. I couldn't pay my electric bill because they said I had done too many credit card transactions.
They're working that out. I think is it Premier Bank? I don't know who they're partnering with. They got to ramp up. And especially if they're going to onboard like Europe and all this stuff. They got to ramp up hard. But smarter people than us are probably trying to figure that out. Yeah. Guys don't know. You're missing out. Eventually these benefits won't happen. I think about that all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not always going to be there.
Yeah, I'd be doing even the faucets like spinning lolly and things like that. It's like this won't exist.
To put in context for everyone, Strike did a 20% off moon cards. So I loaded up $1,000 on Strike, created 3 gift cards equaling $1,000, and I got 20% back. So I got $200 to put $1,000 on gift cards that expire in 2 months. And now I can pay my editor, or I can pay my National Grid bill, or any online invoice with those cards.
Because of the technology.
And then I can convert that $200 into Bitcoin through a Lightning wallet on the fly for essentially no fees. Insane.
Got to do it.
Insane.
Guys, got to listen. You got to pay attention. I know this is, we talked about it before the show. The fear of tech being complicated.
Nah, just do it. Dive in.
It's just, what's your incentive, right? Like, do you want to learn this stuff? You can get stuff like that. Like, similar, I shared my picture with a bunch of people when I did it, and they were just like, whoa. Like, I can't remember the last time I got quite a deal. And it took me a few finger swipes to get that deal. Mm-hmm. It's truly powerful. One thing that Maulers always brings up that is the rails. That's one thing that he keeps bringing over and over again. And what people don't get is that the days have gone of one app needing to find a special way to communicate with the next app, a partnership, a fee, some type of contract that says you're allowed to come to Venmo land or CashApp land.
Or PayPal.
It's done.
Yeah.
We're able to do this with very minimal stuff. KYC, Nazis are going to be all, oh, you got it. Cool, but it's very little KYC. To set up my Moon account did not require for them to have my social security number or anything like that.
Right.
And regardless of what I inputted into this app, my Strike app was able to read that code and say, it's on and popping. I know what this is. I know what I could do with this.
Right.
Right. And all that stuff happening on the fly, I think that's not respected enough. The rails, the fact that we're going to be able to function. Anybody from here on out can make an app. And as long as the protocol fits, it's a puzzle piece that fits in right in with everybody else. You can use every other app as long as you're willing to embrace the protocol.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen that, man.
It's amazing. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, and it's going to be, think about all the people around the world. Like the Mun people are not from America. Think about all the projects that are happening right now that are not, the Raspberry Blitz is not from America. There's so many projects that are happening right now with ideas, and they all work. We can all take advantage of them whether we want to or not. We can contribute to them, which is even more mind-boggling. When did, I don't know, the last big, when did Apple ever let anybody contribute to their code base?
Never. Right.
Never. You can contribute to these, groundbreaking technologies. Moon, Strike, most of them are open source. I keep hearing Mahler say he's going to open source everything. To me, that means Strike. That means everything. And that would just make sense because then there'll just be a bunch of really good Strikes out there that are better because there's better visions, more time to implement, right? Maybe he can't work on certain things that other people can master.
Yeah.
That's very exciting these next 5 years, what we talked about with the MK4. I don't promote any of these companies, but what does Ledger got coming next? What's the next phase? I've heard of this passport device that seems to be really good. What?
They'll let you store your NFTs.
So your wife doesn't delete them.
That's where they're at.
So your wife doesn't delete them.
Right.
But we're just getting going, man.
Yep.
Episode 30. We're doing really good stuff here, man, because this stuff continues to outpace even our bandwidth of being able to soak in. I mean, there's so much stuff, which is important to have these conversations with other Bitcoiners. I don't know. This is early.
It's still early, bro. It's the early days of the internet.
Yeah.
The AOL is still ringing.
That's why I'm kind of grateful, for whatever all-time high dropping by half, because it's like we got a chance to slow down.
Stack more.
We got a chance. For sure, stack more. 1,000%. But we also, got the chance to go back and learn what MultiSig is.
Absolutely.
Go back and learn with these so we could better prepare ourselves for what's to come.
Yep.
Screw the weatherman.
Yeah.
But, things are looking good. It seems like, levels are being set. It seems like we're staying pretty consistent, and that 40 seems to be more
consolidation,
realistic.
My man. Consolidation build.
I rely on you on that. I don't know any about that stuff.
I tell people, hey, do you really think in 5-10 years Bitcoin will still be in the $30,000-$40,000 range?
No. No.
So, it's up 200% in the last 12 months. Yeah. That's 15 years in your 401k.
It just incentivizes winning.
So,
That incentivizes winning. That's why I talked about this with a friend of mine's, and Gigi and a few other people have hit before. Bitcoin is more like this, surreal, religious experience. It just completely changes and ratifies your life in a weird way. I know a lot of people have experienced that. I've talked to a lot of people who have experienced that. I don't know what the word is for it, but it's that. It incentivizes good. It makes you want to be good with other people, and on the other end, it penalizes shitty behavior. Mm-hmm. And it's done that since the beginning, right? Anybody who's ever come in the way, big blockers, there's a million examples, have all gotten wrecked. And it's because of that, because Bitcoin penalizes poisonous behavior and amplifies just good and even keel and incentives and everybody winning if you play the game correctly. I don't know what else to compare it to. Yeah. It's crazy. But episode 30, Ben.
Wrap, bro.
It's always great.
Always good.
Guys, if you love this information, please tell a friend. That's most important. Word of mouth has gone back since the beginning of the time. It helps us out. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, subscribe there so you can get notified. Make sure you leave us a review. Make sure you leave us some comments. We'll hit you back up if we can. And the reviews just help us float up higher so more people can see this while they're skimming around in their algorithms. Share us on social media. Episode 30. We'll catch you guys next week. Take care.